Why do you think most black people reject the message? When they know, they can look in their own family, they can look in the community, they see what you're saying is true. Why do they reject the message?
Easier to blame somebody else.
Yeah.
Easier to point the fingers at somebody else.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do that, and you're on the left, and you voted for all these Democrats that have kept pushing these policies, you have to look at yourself in the mirror and go, oh my God, what have I done? And that's just a bridge too far for a lot of people.
Amazing. I wanted to ask you about that, but first I want to know, how do you see America now? Things have changed in such a negative, for lack of a better word, evil, drastic way all of a sudden. How do you see America, and do you think we'll ever come back to being America again?
Jesse, I was in Boston in 2004 when this skinny kid with funny little ears, a name nobody could pronounce, full of charisma, came out and gave that speech. He was introducing John Kerry, who was a 2004 Democrat nominee. And he said, there's no red America. There's no blue America. There's just one America.
Yeah.
There's no black America. There's no white America. There's just one America. We are one. It brought the house down.
Amazing.
He decided to run for president. And his first interview on 60 Minutes, he wasn't the front runner yet, but he was gaining on Hillary. The correspondent said, Senator, if you don't win, will it be because of your race? Now, I was home by myself. I know what kind of answer Al Sharpton would have given, who ran for president and complained about racism.
Yeah.
Jesse Jackson ran twice and complained about racism. I know what answer they would give. I said, let's see what this man says. And Senator Obama said, no. If I don't win, it will be because I have not articulated a vision that the American people can embrace. I said, hallelujah.
Yeah.
Senator Obama was speaking at a black church. And he was talking about how much racism there is in America. Even people didn't vote for him said, all right, at the very least, I don't want Obamacare. I don't want my taxes raised. At the time, he criticized the war in Iraq. At the time, it was popular. I don't want that. But at least he will stop the nonsense about America being systemically racist and bring us together racially. Even people who didn't vote for him assumed that. The polls show that both blacks and whites thought race relations would improve. 8 years later, when he left, both blacks and whites thought race relations got worse.
Yep.
Because for the entirety of his 2 terms, it was race card after race card after race card, beginning with the Cambridge police acted stupidly. You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
White police officer in Cambridge gets a call from a neighbor in the neighborhood who sees this guy push open a door in the neighborhood. Didn't recognize him as Henry Louis Skip Gates, who's a Harvard professor, whose house it was. Didn't recognize him. She called 911. Don't you want your neighbors to do that? Looking out for you? Cop shows up, sees this man in the house, doesn't know if he belongs to the house, and says, sir, please come out and show ID. And what did this guy do, who, by the way, is a friend of Obama? I'll come out if your mama tells me to come out. So the cop arrested him briefly. And instead of Obama saying, you know, last night I talked to my friend Henry Louis Skip Gates. I said, Skip, what are you doing? You're a Harvard tenured professor, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
The big problem in America with these young black men is they're not complying. And instead of complying with a perfectly reasonable, lawful order, you copped an attitude. That's what Obama should have said. What did he say? The Cambridge police acted stupidly.
Sure.
And it ticked off police officers all over America, and that set the foundation for his criticizing the police time and time again unfairly. Then there was, if I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon, referring to Trayvon Martin. Okay, Trayvon Martin was shot and killed by a guy named George Zimmerman. Zimmerman stood trial for second-degree homicide. The jury found him not guilty. And those jurors who spoke to the media afterwards said, race had nothing whatever to do with it. Yeah. That's what started, by the way, Black Lives Matter. People think George Floyd started it. It didn't. That's what started it. So Black Lives Matter got started over a premise, and George Zimmerman wasn't even black. First they said he was white, then he turns out he was Hispanic and Cuban or whatever it was.
Oh, mess.
Wasn't even, you know, he was Mongol like most of us, mongrel like most of us, and he wasn't even white. That's what started Black Lives Matter. Then Obama said in an interview, racism is in America's DNA. The same guy who said we were 90% of the way there now says racism is in our DNA. His AG, Eric Holder, said when it comes to matters of race, America has, quote, been a nation of cowards, close quote.
Amazing.
And Eric Holder gave a speech where he talked about America's continued pernicious racism, his term, not mine.
Yeah.
And one example he gave was voter ID. Most blacks support voter ID. He had Al Sharpton over the White House over 70 times. Al Sharpton is America's preeminent race card hustler who became famous falsely accusing a white man of raping Tawana Brawley. He was in the middle of the Crown Heights riots in 1991, where he said, if the Jews want to get their yarmulkes on, come to my house, let's get it on. And one Jewish leader referred to the Crown Heights riots in 1991 as the most serious pogrom in the history of America, and Al Sharpton was right in the middle of stirring the pot. I can go on and on about the many things he's done. So Obama had him over the White House over 70 or 80 times. And at the end of his term, because of all this narrative about how bad the police are, a black man got a gun and murdered two officers sitting in their squad car in New York, execution style, just popped them. Another black man in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, walks up to 3 officers, kills them execution style. Another black man in Dallas, Texas, execution style murders 5 officers. All these 3 black men either told people or posted on social media. The reason they did it is because of this notion, this narrative that Obama pushed, that the police are systemically racist against black people. And the data shows that anything, the police are more hesitant, more reluctant to pull the trigger on a black suspect than a white suspect. They kill more unarmed white people every year. They kill more whites every year than they kill blacks. It is a lie. And it's a direct line between Obama, Jesse, and what happened beginning in May of 2020 when we had 4 months of protests over the death of George Floyd. Keep in mind regarding that, there were 25 people killed, millions of people who were protesting, a lot of property damage, $2 billion worth of insured property damage, maybe another $2 billion of uninsured property damage. Why? Over the assumption that Officer Derek Chauvin did what he did because of George Floyd's race. The lead prosecutor in that case was a black man. I'm a trial lawyer, and your most important statement in a trial is your opening statement, most important part of it, where you set the whole narrative. And he took pains, it was on television, to say the police in general are not on trial. He said most of them are doing a good job. They have a tough job. They have to make a split-second decision, life or death. It's hard. He said the Minneapolis PD in general is not on trial. And he mentioned some of the officers and officials he knew. He said this individual's on trial where this individual did, and the black prosecutor never even intimated that what Derek Chauvin did had anything to do with George Floyd's race, and Derek Chauvin was never charged with a hate crime. Yet you had all these people out there destroying property because of this assumption that what happened to George Floyd had to do with his race. Now, I don't know about the political affiliation of the people that were protesting, but I assure you they would probably self-describe, if you ask them, are you liberal or very liberal, they probably would say, yeah, I'm very liberal.
Yeah.
The reason I mention that is that there is a website called policemag.com. And they asked people who self-described as very liberal, how many unarmed black men did the police kill in 2019? 50% of the self-described very liberal people thought the police killed 1,000 unarmed black men in 2019. 8% thought they killed 10,000. As to people that self-describe as just liberal, 39% of them thought the police killed 1,000 unarmed black men in 2019. 5% thought they killed 10,000. The answer, according to the Washington Post database, 12.
12?
12.
Like 1, 2?
1, 2. That's the gap between what people think is going on and what is going on, which is why so many people are in the streets rioting, because they think this happens all the time when, in fact, it is rare. And just because you're unarmed does not mean you're not dangerous or reasonably perceived as dangerous. Michael Brown, Ferguson, was unarmed. He had just done a strong-arm robbery, and his DNA was found on the officer's gun, meaning he was trying to get it.
Right.
So just because you're unarmed does not mean you're not dangerous. So there are very, very, very few instances of unarmed black people who are legitimately killed for unlawful reasons every year. There are more unarmed white people that are killed for unlawful reasons than there are blacks. It is rare for the police to kill anybody, let alone unarmed, let alone unlawfully. So you have all these people, young black men, who are told otherwise, pulled over by the cops. Instead of complying and cooperating, They're copying an attitude.
Yeah.
And as a result, something is happening that otherwise wouldn't happen. My dad always told me, when you're pulled over by the cop, make sure your left hand is at 10 o'clock, your right hand is at 2 o'clock. Say yes, sir, say no, sir, say yes, ma'am, say no, ma'am. My dad wasn't a biologist, but he could tell a female cop from a male cop. Make sure your paperwork is in order.
Right.
And if you feel you're mistreated, get a badge number, and both of us will go downtown and deal with it.
Yeah.
Instead, black people are taught the opposite. You talk, cops are enemies, and they're out to get you. And as a result, they're not cooperating, and as a result, you're having far more violent encounters than would otherwise be the case.
What a mess.
So I'm saying all this, in my opinion, is Obama. When he could have said something conciliatory, when he could have said something reasonable, when he could have said, calm the blank down. Yeah. It is not true. He went the opposite way. And as a result, in my opinion, he took the country in a way that made us far more divisive at each other's story. After all, this bright, well-educated Harvard guy who grew up under the care of his white grandparents, thinks
Hawaii somewhere, right?
Thinks racism is a major problem in America. Thinks America is bedeviled by systemic racism. If Obama feels that way, it must be true. Yeah. And that's what he did.